I'm Paul Cram, joined today by Alyssa Szarkowski.
People think it's like you have to like kind of dedicate yourself to it or like be a certain type of person. You don't. Like there's literally 3-minute things you could do a day that allow you to tap into that can be life changing.
Alyssa Szarkowski is a mother, actor, and voice artist turned Kundalini Yogini. After working in the acting industry for over a decade, she found herself further drawn to exploring deep authenticity on the spiritual level so that she could bring that into her creative projects and beyond. Through yoga and meditation, she has tapped into the codes to embody this true essence of being. She is passionate about helping other creative artists and individuals of all trades embody their authentic self, unlock creative flow, and flourish within unique expression and mastery of their path of truth and divine destiny. She is also inspired by youth and works with those most at risk and in need of enlightened support and love to help bring them to their brightest self. Through her organization, Earth's Root, she aims to help bring yoga and meditation into the classroom as a daily practice. Here we go.
I would say the last time, oh my goodness, was it something we worked on together or did we run into each other at an audition maybe?
I'm sure.
I think it
I'm
was
sure.
something like that.
Yeah.
But when I first like came back to Minneapolis and got back into acting or put myself out there to do acting. Do you remember we did that thing at Bryant Lake Bowl? You were like my first experience co-acting
Yes,
and we
yes,
did that
yes.
crazy thing, that
I totally
showcase.
do remember. We did a showcase for agents in town with at that time it was the Actors Forum, and you and I were paired up for a scene, and
Yes.
it was a
Yes.
crazy.
It was crazy, and we went to the bridge at St. Anthony. I remember it was like we rehearsed, and I was just so
For anybody
great.
that's listening, it was a scene that was set on a bridge, so which is why we went to the
Yes,
bridge
that's
to
right.
rehearse.
Yes.
And
We're very method,
very
method. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do remember we got a fairly good response of that. Like I think people were entertained. It was wacky.
There was an it was a wacky skit. I mean, how could you not be? I think I pulled something out of my bag. Yeah.
I
Yes.
do remember that.
Good times.
Oh.
But yeah, I was thinking about that, how that was like kind of my first jump into it in Minneapolis, into kind of the acting world.
Well, and that's all. I love it. But I think the whole skit was about jumping off a bridge, and it was a fun skit. But it leads actually to one of my first questions that I have for you,
Yes.
Alyssa, which is, when did you realize that you wanted to be an actor?
It's interesting because growing up, like like the performance side of me, I always wanted to come out, but I was very shy. And so I didn't even really know like, oh, I wanted to be an actor, but I would, through high school and stuff, it's like I'd always kind of watch the feed. I'd always be like dreaming like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I did a lot of choir and I did a lot of singing. But it was so weird because it's like I knew I wanted to be creative and like express myself.
Yeah.
But I was too timid or shy at that time. And so it was like this hidden secret, of mine. Like I remember like thinking, oh, I'm going to go to acting school. And it was so weird. I would like keep it secret. It's like I couldn't express it. So I ended up moving to LA and going to design school. It's like, even though I wanted to be an actor, it was like, I want to go to LA, but I'll go to design school. And I think it was also that, well, you can't really be an actor. You can't do that for a living, right? It was my more like, we were talking about astrology, but my Capricornian side of like, no, you have to be, be professional and do something that's, normal and make money and be stable. And
yes. There's something, I just have to interject this really quick too. Like you and I share a fair amount of astrological similarities, signs and stuff like that. But there's something to, like, I like what you're talking about. Like I actually appreciate that. It's like I want to be an actor, but there's a level-headedness to it from my perspective, for what you're talking about, where it's like I'm going to be an actor, but I'm also going to maybe not live on the street out of my car. I don't know. Like,
Right. Yeah, that's the Libra balance too, right? Yeah, like I want to have this and this. And it's true. It's so because, yeah, I mean, some people jump full in, and it's like I'm gonna do whatever it takes, and I'm gonna live in my car,
mhm.
and they're comfortable with that, and they're okay with that. And it's like evaluating who you are and what works for you. And it's like yeah, it's like from whatever reason, I couldn't allow myself to just jump in to that so creatively, or trust it, I guess. I think I had a big problem with trusting that, first of
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
I was worthy of it, I was capable, I was good enough, like, people would like me, or I would be embarrassed. I mean, all those things, all those emotions that you feel, and it's like, I can
Yeah.
look back at myself and go like, "Oh, that's what was holding me away from that." So yeah, I took some acting classes when I was in LA, and I had to write my own monologue. And I remember the acting teacher was like, "Wow, like that was really you got something, you know." And it was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna do this." It's like I needed that encouragement or that reinforcement of like, yes, like you are good, you can do this.
That's
And so then I moved
interesting.
back to Minneapolis to do acting. No.
It's an interesting career path. I mean, it's definitely interesting to be here to go to LA and not really pursue acting and then come back and pursue it. Like I like it. Um
Yes.
and it actually it does you kind of mentioned it, but there was a question that I had written down and I'm going to ask it because I think the timing I'm going to shuffle these up a little bit. But was there someone specific in your life that helped turn that proverbial key in your mind that opened you up to all the possibilities that you didn't think you had access to? Was it that teacher or was there more than that?
It wasn't. I think that was just the spark of like somebody saying, you know, recognizing something that I had kind of held secret, and like recognizing that it was like worthy, you know, or that it was there was something there. And so I think it was really just my own kind of self getting out of my own way,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah.
believing that yeah, like, you know, I like my higher self, I guess, kind of tapping me and going, "It's okay, you know, like you can do this, and you can be
Yeah.
vulnerable. You
Yeah.
can be vulnerable because like you're not just we aren't perfect. We have to like go through all the uncomfortable things to get to where we want to be, you know." And I think as an actor, you have to be really vulnerable because you can step into a role, play that role and try to put yourself aside, but you really can't step into that role without yourself. Like you have to like you have to be there as well. Like it has to be real and authentic. Um or
It's
it doesn't have to
yes.
be, but it can
Yes.
resonate a lot more if
Oh,
it's like
absolutely.
rooted authentically from something, and then you're portraying it through the eyes of this character, but like your soul is still kind of is there. You're connecting in a way that's
That's what you're
it's
saying
a
is really
deep way to look at
resonating.
it.
It's a deep
Yeah.
way to look at it, but I think it's reminding me of I had a conversation with Kathy Ryan King. She's a casting director from Atlanta, and she wrote a really good book, and I read it, and we chatted about it. And she she talked a lot about, and I so agree with it. And you're kind of echoing it, which is why I mentioned it. She was like, you know, by the way, she did casting for Frasier,
Cool.
and you know she worked in that forever. But she just said something really similar. She's like, it's not these actors coming in and being someone else. It's the actors coming in and they're being themselves.
Wow, yeah, that gave me chills. Yeah.
And it took me a while because I was like, no,
Right.
no,
Right.
no,
That's not what we've learned.
that's not
I'm
that.
learning how to be
No,
somebody else. Like, I want to be myself. That's not comfortable.
exactly. And that
That's so
authenticity,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. And it
Well,
took me a
because
while. Go for it.
yeah. Well, because anyone can play a part, right? So it's like, you know, I mean, not anyone can, but you really can. And it's like, yeah, it's like that's so interesting. Yeah, it's not the part, it's the actor, it's the person that's getting the well. And it's funny because I found that when you find your authentic self, so with voiceover, when I do work from an authentic place and it's finding how to get there, it's like I'm more successful. when I'm just reading a script, like, okay, so we want you to be bright and friendly and, girl next door or young mom, yeah, I can go, okay, I'm going to get into that chirpy young mom. But I can read that and it can be okay. But if I literally am like embracing it and like authentically like finding my mom, finding myself as a mother and finding myself like finding a bright, like creating that feeling, then it literally, you can record yourself doing it one way and then another way and go like, whoa, okay, I can feel the soul in that read. And I can
Yeah.
feel like this is
Yeah.
good, but it's just, there's something, and people don't even really realize what it is. It feel, that's what it is. It's a feeling, because the sound that you're creating from having like from an authentic place literally like vibrates out a different sound, a different energy. And now we're getting
Yes.
crazy deep into,
No.
all my energy stuff, but
There's
that's what
something
you get.
about it. There is a different, like, and I think it's even to like what Kathy was saying, like what you're saying too, that um I can walk into an audition to because you do so much voiceover, which is awesome. Rock on. Like I
The
can
house is great.
yeah, it's amazing. Uh I can walk into an audition and play a character. But for me to walk into an audition and bring me, like what I would do in like I'm gonna use like a comedic situation, like where things are going crazy and because I get cast like that quite a bit. And
Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
and if I
It's magnetizes to you. Yeah.
yeah, and if I do that as a character, it just reads like, okay, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
It's a very similar thing. And
Yeah.
that's where when because I did when she said that, and if you had said some of this to me, I would be like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, but it's so interesting because I feel like you've always kind of embodied that in my eyes. Like, so isn't it so strange we see like how I see you versus how you see you, like I just when I think of you, I think of a someone who like has always like worked to kind of embody that. It's so strange that
No, I appreciate that.
but
I
yeah.
appreciate that. That's really kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm only laughing because I'm thinking of some of the roles I've done, and I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I am always asking myself that, like, oh dear God, how would I do this? Yeah. But
Right.
but I do want to touch on like there's something to what you're saying with the voiceover and just with life and stuff like that. Like what, and I do want, this is a little bit of a leading question, but what inspires you, Alyssa, or it makes you feel like your best self?
What I found, I think it took me a long time to get to that, like a really long time until recently. Like, um, I feel like my best self when I finally kind of like tapping into like what is my like authentic like gifts? Like
Yeah.
what am I
Yeah.
here? How can I help? And like until I realized like it's not about me, it's about how I can help other people. Like with voiceover, it's like for a while, you're doing all these kind of commercial voiceovers and it's great and you're selling different things. Sometimes it can feel though too like, what am I doing? So I'm making money, um, and which allows me to, like provide for my kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like I want to help on like a much bigger level. So like I'm really inspired by like taking those things, like taking the acting, taking the voice, taking kind of like my own true passions and then using them to like help other people. Like whether it's kids, I like to work with kids and doing the I'd love to like you know, work with kids doing singing or voice and like I always from a younger age wanted to like had this calling like um teaching kids, like helping kids. It's just like and I never kind of placed it until now. Like I'm realizing, okay, now I know how to take these creative gifts that I've built over the years with the
Yes.
acting and the voice and now with the, the yoga and the meditation and like, oh yeah, like now I can push that out and hopefully make an impact in someone else's life. Um and that like that really gets me going when I'm like, okay, how can I help people feel better or like find their authentic self or like,
Right.
then then yeah, it's less about me and like, oh, I'm a really great, like, oh, look at me, I'm a really great, I'm a like I used to think, oh, it'd be so fun to live in Hollywood and be famous. I don't even care about being famous, like it's not that's the
Yes.
ego. That's the
Yes,
ego.
that's the
And then when you
ego.
tap into like your real true essence, it's like, yeah, serving others. And that's when you'll really be inspired. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
gonna serve, it can be in the smallest ways. And it can be in just the ways of like just tapping into like where you're doing something you really love. So then you're really grateful every day. So then when you go to the store, you're like really kind to people and like
Yes.
rather than like, being an a-hole or whatever, just like taking it out on other people.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
that totally spreads. So like it can be so small, but it makes
It's
such a big impact.
it's wonderful. I mean, I'm relating it to acting and things like that because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like the best moments I've had, and I know that I've seen other actors have, are when they aren't so like me, and when they're literally like in a scene giving,
Yeah.
where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm here for
Yes.
you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's so powerful, like in
What a
acting.
great way to circle back to that whole feeling I was just talking about. It's so true. It's like the giving and receiving. Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
because you
yes.
can tell when you're like giving to your scene partner
And
and when
it's
you're
like,
allowing to
nope.
receive. Yeah,
Or when
right.
you're like, I'm just gonna make this scene all about me and I'm not going to give you diddly squat.
Right.
Uh
Yeah.
no, and that, I mean, that's circling back to the acting thing, but um I am curious, like if you can share, I know I'll mention it in the intro and stuff too, but like you're um really starting to work with youth a fair amount, and you're even starting, can you explain to me a little bit about the organization that you are uh,
Build,
building?
putting the
Yes.
yes. Yeah, I last year when I kind of started to really go through this like kind of more spiritual awakening, if you will, through this COVID, there's all this like changes, and started getting into the yoga and meditation. Yeah, it was again, it was like that tapping of, um, and there was a lot going on. There's the George Floyd, there's all these things
Yes.
going on, and there was all this pain, and there was all this, and I just kept thinking about like the children, right? Like just kids and like all the things that us as adults like just kind of like cause, like these things, and
Oh,
we're still trying to kind of stabilize, but like, oh, okay, if we can get to like the root. So Earth's root is like something that came to me years ago when I was going to do this gardening Amazon thing where I was going to sell these little, these little garden pots, and I was like Earth's root, and I had this like logo created. And then that was one of those things that kind of just went on the back burner. I was like, I'm not going to sell on, coconut core pots on Amazon. What am I doing? And it came back all of a
yeah,
sudden to this earth. And I was like, okay, children are like the root to like, like to the future. And
yeah.
so, I was like, yeah, like so into wanting to work with them and specifically with at risk youth. And so I was like, yes, okay, you're going to be, you have to reach out to some people and like get yourself somewhere so you can work with some kids. Like, so I used to do free arts Minnesota, like
Nice.
decades ago, where
Yeah.
you work with kids and do the art. And so, um, so I emailed them and through like Boys and Girls Club, got hooked up with Lucy Laney Elementary School and got in there and started doing the Kundalini yoga and meditation with those kids with like an after school program. And then now I'm currently at a place called Perspectives, which is another really beautiful organization doing the same thing. So just working with the kids and making it fun, like singing and dancing and just like, and
Nice.
one of my teachers really made an impactful comment about, it's not even so much about like they're doing the yoga right and they're doing the meditation right because they're literally little kids. They're like kindergartners. And so there's so much you can do, but it's
Right,
about
right.
being there and like being like having like just a presence there, like a calming presence, and like they'll pick up these things. And like, so I say earth's root, rooted in love, because like my biggest thing is just like getting in there, giving them some tools to like um deal with anger, deal with fear, deal with these emotions that they're having, and then giving them
That's so good.
love, you know, giving them
Yes.
love. And so yeah,
Yes.
I want to create it as a nonprofit. I want to like really get into lots of different areas. I mean, just right now it's just me. So it's like, you know, and I've got my own 2 kids, and I'm like, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to
I get
do
you.
all the things. But yeah, and like I just have these visions of like creating like a little app for schools, like and piloting it at this Lucy Laney Elementary, like so teachers can figure out ways to just like incorporate little meditation or different things like that throughout the day to kind of like like make it more normalized, like, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
bring it
Makes
into
total
I mean,
sense.
we should be teaching mind, body, spirit, you know.
It's reminding
It's
me a
like
lot
a
of I'm relating it to my growing up and my
yeah.
experiences with I mean, I myself have like I went to anger management when I was in my 20s, and like learned behaviors and things like that from, you know, so many different spaces and places. But um what you're talking about, like giving kind of starting to help kids develop even like an anger management, and just being aware that, oh, there's tool sets that I can access. Kids are so smart in my
Yeah.
opinion, like
Oh my
they
gosh, totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
So smart. Yeah, I mean, literally there are kids smarter, you know, like it doesn't even matter your age. I mean, there I've learned, and that's the other thing, I've learned so much from some of them. It's for me, it's like it's helping me grow, like
hmm,
working with them. Like it's just
yeah.
like I'll think of it can be just something small that they say, and it's like, wow, that was like really profound, you know, or like, you know, and it's like they don't, it's just so cool. It's just so cool.
I I absolutely love that. So
Yeah, yes. Well,
yeah,
I will
yeah,
you can be I'll let you know when the
let me
nonprofit's
know.
starting. Oh, you can be
Yes,
on the board
let me,
and
I'll totally be game. And it leads to another question that I have for you. Is there a misconception that people have about practicing, you know, spirituality, mindfulness, that if you, Alyssa, could just snap your fingers and people would understand it more clearly, what would it be?
yeah, I think that it has to be a certain thing or a certain way, and that it has to I think people think, well, I'm just not like that. I'm not that spiritual person, or I yeah, like it is a certain way. It's not. It's very just like an essence of you, and it's also can be very fun, it can be very sexy, it can be very silly, it can be very not it's not religious, you know, like
Mhm.
there are components of you know, it's and it can be really easy. I think that's actually maybe that's the thing. People think it's like you have to like kind of dedicate yourself to it, or you know, like be a certain type of person. You don't. Like there's literally 3-minute things you could do a day that allow you to tap into that can be life changing. Like
Yeah.
the particular stuff I do, the Kundalini yoga and meditation. They say it's like a um householders yoga, because it's like it's for people who are just like, you know, we're just normal people. We're you know, we're mothers, we're fathers, we're like, you know,
Right.
working at Target
Right.
corporate, whatever. But like and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's like it's just like, oh, you know what? I'm feeling a little weird. I'm just going to close my eyes. I need to calm my body. I'm just going to do this little exercise for 2 minutes. And you know what? It's going to make the rest of the day better. Like it doesn't even have to be a thing. You know, it's like taking a shower. You can just, you know, you take a shower and then I do my 2-minute, you know, mindfulness, you
Yeah.
know, and it doesn't, there's not a right or wrong way to do it. It's just committing every day to taking like literally 3 minutes for yourself. Where like you're letting your mind calm. And, you know, when I started meditating, your mind talks and people think, oh no, I can't sit still. I can't be calm. That's okay. Like all that's supposed to come out. That's just like, that's cool. And some days it's going to be great. And then one day you're going to go, wow, today I totally, for those 3 minutes where I sat there and just was like meditating, like something really, a powerful thought, like a life changing thing or whatever can come through. And then some days it's like your kids are yelling in the background where you're like, I'm just meditating. It's fine, and it's just like a, you know, a shit show or whatever. But
Right.
and
Right.
that's cool too. All of that is like spirituality, and like it doesn't have to be a thing, you know, or like a
What I
certain
appreciate about it is
way.
it's very real. It
Yeah.
acknowledges that it's like we're human beings with flaws and external, internal, you know,
Yep.
I really
It's
appreciate that.
It's raw. I like the word. I like that word raw, like
I
it's
like
sometimes
that
you just
too.
gotta like
Yeah,
raw. It's
yeah.
okay to be raw and
It's
vulnerable,
okay to be raw. It's
Yeah.
hard to be vulnerable, but it's okay.
When I started some of this too, I would be like vulnerable, like, oh, people are watching me. They're gonna think that's weird, like all those things. It's like, nah.
Yeah,
Once you
yeah.
finally tap into like your authentic self, it's like it doesn't matter anymore. Like it's like I don't even care if you think I'm weird. Like it's me, and and then you realize, oh yeah,
Oh,
it's not. It's just your own mind telling you
no,
what things are
it's
supposed to be. It's like
yeah,
not.
yeah. No, it's fascinating. It's so fascinating because again, I'm thinking of the whole acting thing and the comfort that I have, and I'm sure you do too, the comfort with playing a character and bringing like this other thing where it's like I'm almost gonna use like using a wall where it's like you're not gonna see the authentic me. I'm not gonna
Right.
let that
Yeah.
out. No, here's
Yeah.
this. Look at this.
Yep.
And there is a fear, I think. I'm gonna include this is a very blanket statement, but I've worked with a ton of actors, and I'm gonna include myself in this, where we do that, where it's like actually, if I was able to do what you're talking about, like pulling in and allowing people to and being okay with being authentic and letting
Yeah.
people see my vulnerabilities, be it on camera or in real life, uh, how much better that would be for obviously for telling stories, but also for my well-being.
Yeah, and probably for your joy in it, like,
Yes,
even if there's moments where, like, wow, that was really uncomfortable because I was so vulnerable and I wasn't used to that, so, like, that felt weird, but then it's, like, uplifting in a way because it's like you move through, like, a block. But it's so funny you
absolutely.
say that too, coming back to the acting thing, because it's like, as an actor, you really have to be vulnerable, but I think us and myself included, so it's like it's so hard to really put yourself out there that's like, yeah, it's like the character is almost it's like we're not it's like we want the character there because we don't want to be we don't want to show
Right.
ourselves like we're like maybe some actors really are like the most hidden person of all, right? Because it's like I'm going to be an actor because like I don't really just want to be other people because I'm either
Well,
not comfortable with my own self or I'm not really sure who
and
I am.
yes, and I hear that quite a bit, and I know that I think I would even say that I've probably answered that question that way, because sometimes people are like, why do you want to be an actor? What do you enjoy about it? And it's like, I like being other people. And it's like, I mean, the reality is I don't. I actually really like being me in these wonderfully weird, crazy
You're a
situations.
wonderful person. Yeah, I like you. I like you too.
um, yeah, yeah. I do want to ask you a couple of these more questions too.
Okay.
If you could hop into a time machine and talk to yourself as a
Oh, I
teenager.
can.
um
Crack
uh
the code on that.
crack the code on it. If you could do that and talk to yourself as a teenager, what would you say? What would you share?
I would say, like, embrace your uniqueness, embrace your weirdness, embrace and it's so hard because it's like, I could say that to my teenage self, but they're not gonna listen because you kinda have to go through, right? You
Yes.
kinda have to go through these journeys because, like, if you're a
Mhm.
teenager, man, you could be a powerful teenager, though, if you just were like, "You know what? I'm unique. I mean, I'm like I am who I am. I don't have to prove myself." Because I think that's where, when you're a teenager and you're in high school and depending on what type of high school, if you're actually public school, private school, homeschool, whatever,
Mhm.
um I mean, we're always comparing, we're always the environment of like a public high school, to me it just is so like, oh, but I mean I guess it's like a
Interesting.
lesson, but
Yeah.
it's like there's so much, the groups and the cliques and
Fun
it's so
fact, can
hard to be yourself.
I I get asked a lot of times when people know this about me. Um, I get asked all the time. They're like, "Well, wait a minute. So did you miss not going?" Because I was homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through. I never went to
I
public
did not
school.
know this, Paul. That is like
Yes.
I mean, okay, so I don't mean to cut you off, but that is so cool. I want to talk to you more about that. That's so
Yeah.
I could
I'm 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 mentioning it because of the fact that I always I for whatever, I mean, I don't so much anymore because
yeah.
you
Yeah,
get past a certain age and people are like, yeah, whatever.
right.
But the question always was, they're like, I mean, over and over and over. Well, did you miss not going to public school? And I'm like, I don't know what I missed. I have no
Yeah, you
idea.
didn't, I
I
mean,
don't know. But from talking to people, I
yeah.
have to say, like, my experience from being homeschooled, like, was beautiful. Like, I was able to pursue, I love that you mentioned gardening. I love to garden. And I
Yes.
really discovered that while I was at home doing homeschool, and I was like,
Okay.
oh my gosh, I love to garden. I love to work outside. I love to get dirty and just,
Yeah.
it's stuff
So
like that.
I actually, I homeschool my first grader, and then my daughter, she's preschool, but yeah, I've got like a strong calling to homeschool, and it's not easy.
Oh,
And I've
it's
had to
not.
kind
Yeah.
of battle like perception of what that is. And this was like pre-pandemic. It was just in my heart. It was like I just love, and there's no right way, because I think
No,
there's beautiful
no,
things about
I
every
agree.
sort of educational journey. But yeah, for me personally and for my kids, um, it's that being able to really tap into that your authentic self, right? Without the outside influence.
Yes.
Like still, I'm sure you had like really great mentors. It's
I
not just
did. I
like,
did. I would, specific to me, like, I'm just rolling my eyes with some of the questions from growing up, because people were like, "You're weird. You're really weird."
you're
And I was
it's
like,
like, you know what? I like that's good to be weird. Be
it's that
weird.
it's that thing where I'm like, yeah, it is a little bit weird, but also like I'm going and doing that's actually part of why me specifically, like, I got into acting, because my mom was like, she's like, you are not going to be afraid to talk to people, and like, pushing me and my siblings out on stage. And I look around, and at that point in my life, and then and in through the teenage years and stuff, like, I was actually looking at people that were going to public school, and I was like, why are you so scared of getting up in front of people and showing? So I think that there was a level of authenticity that my parents did allow with the homeschool piece, but um I love that you're taking that, I don't know. I think it's really cool what you're doing from what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, if my son's really into it too. So like, if people are like, because some kids really love school, like I love to go to school, and so like I would never keep my
Yeah.
child from going to school if they wanted. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the journey. So that's so cool that but yeah, I think with going back to the teenage question of, because I was in public school, and so yeah, I had all that influence. So I think for me, it was just like, yeah, just be weird. Like, don't worry about,
Yes.
or don't
Yep.
worry about being weird, because not like I was
It's
weird, but
it's so
we're
hard
all weird.
to
We're all weird.
I really appreciate what you were getting at too, Alyssa, with your comment of like, if you went back in time, it's like you can tell your teenage self these things, but ultimately one must go through that struggle. You must, otherwise, yeah, it just,
It's like
we won't.
it's all this learning that's like growing. Like we have to go through all these challenges, all these things. They're lessons. Like everything we
Mhm.
go through, whether it's good or bad, is literally a lesson. That's how I see it, anyways. And even
Yeah.
if you just look at it like that, then it's a lesson. Like
Yeah.
make
No,
it
I
whatever it is. You can
I
make it.
totally agree. I love this
Yeah.
conversation. I do want to, I do
Yes.
want to get through some of these, and I know I
Yes.
want to be aware of time too. If someone wanted to follow in your creative footsteps, what advice would you give them for achieving what you have in, one, voiceover and acting, and then two, like in spirituality and mindfulness?
So for voiceover and acting, I mean, it's really just, I got into voiceover. I took a class at the Guthrie here in Minneapolis, a voiceover thing. And it just really clicked. Like it was enjoyable. It was something that was it was meant to be on my path. And so like getting into voiceover, it's really about like, you need to just be comfortable with yourself and like take some acting classes,
Hmm.
and get a nice demo, um and have fun. Like that's the one thing I noticed when like things kind of start to get like this kind of blasé for me. It's like, oh, I stopped having fun. Like now I'm just jumping in the booth doing auditions, like because I gotta like check them off. And it's like, oh no, that's not gonna work. Like that you gotta be having fun and like enjoying what you're doing.
Great,
Um
great, great
and yeah,
advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just getting comfortable acting and taking classes, getting a nice demo, just getting yourself out there. Um And then with, with meditation and yoga and mindfulness, just do it a little bit. Just give it a try. Like just start like with a
Mhm.
minute a day, whether it's you get the Calm app, um, and or you just like give yourself a minute of silence, or just like make it a mindful intention. Like for this minute or these 2 minutes, I'm gonna honor myself, and like I'm just gonna sit with myself. I'm not gonna worry about how I'm doing it or what thoughts come through. I'm just going to let it be. And every day I'm just going to take those 2 minutes for myself and just let whatever comes come through. And then you'll start to like get kind of addicted to it. And then you'll probably do it more. And then maybe you'll, and maybe not, maybe it'll just stay small. But that can be really, that can be really life changing, especially in a day where maybe something happens, but like you took that time for yourself. So you're just like more balanced. Like you're just more at a place of like
I love that.
knowing, yeah.
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 No, you're inspiring me because I'm not someone who I've always considered myself spiritual, but and grew up in a Christian household and stuff like that. But I've never done much of what you're talking about, and I love it. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Good.
dip my
Yeah.
toes
Yep.
in.
Check in. I want to make sure. Checking in.
Yes. 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 Is there anything I do have a couple of like just rather silly and fun questions, but is
Yeah.
there anything else that you want to share with people before we dive into those?
I think you had talked about maybe mentioning a book. I love books. I know you love books.
Yes, yes,
I
I
am
do. I do.
I like buy books. I just like, and here's the thing. I rarely read through all of it, but they say you can even like sleep with a book, and you can
Oh.
get like you can even like go into you. But yes, I'm just picturing myself as an old woman just like finally reading all the books that I bought over the years. But you had said what's on my
What's on your
you had
nightstand?
mentioned maybe on my
Yeah.
nightstand. And this one I just got through. Oh, can you see it there? It's called The Mysticism of Sound and Music. I'm
Ooh.
very into these days, like sound and like vibrations. And my daughter is blind. So she was born blind. She's 3 years old now.
Mhm.
And so, like, that was like a big thing for me. Like, I've always been
Oh
into
yeah.
music and things
Yeah.
like that, but sound is everything for her. And like, she's very into instruments and just like the sound. So it's really tapped me into just sound in general, like the sense of sound and the sense of touch. And,
Oh, that's
so this book
amazing.
I'm really interested in because it goes into like kind of more of the spiritual aspect of sound and music and how it resonates with us and how it can
Mhm.
be very healing. Like, and I think most people can relate to that because, right, you're feeling a certain way and whatever kind of music you listen to, like whether it's hip hop or whether it's 80s or pop or whatever, techno,
Yes.
you can like you can put that on and it just does something to you,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's my book right now that I'm excited to jump into.
I'm forgetting the name of the study, but was reading about a study about that, and it was interesting because it mentioned it was like the music that you listen to defines who you are in a way,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And they did a study about it and how it affects your outlook, and it so
Yeah.
does. Which is what you're
Yeah.
talking about, which it made me think a little bit. I was just like, maybe I won't listen to that really depressing song right now.
It's true, yeah, it's like there's a time and place for the depression when if you wanna, like, put on something depressing and, like,
Hmm.
release some emotion, like
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
good. It's good to
yeah.
get those tears out. Sometimes we need the depressing song to, like, get us there, right?
Yes, yes, and then
But
there's
yeah,
other moments where it's like, "No!"
yeah, and then there's moments where you just wanna, like, dance, and, like, but yeah, they
Yes.
actually it can go even deeper, like, there's different frequencies that music is made at, and certain like, there's a frequency of, like, love, like, like a and the frequency that's more like, and so when you listen to it, it can make you feel like, a little bit more
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
off, and then
yeah. No,
there's
there's,
so
um I'm not an expert on any of that by any means, but I have it's been a long time since I've touched the piano, but I played the piano. And I
I
remember my
know.
music teacher talking about, like, she's like, this is dissonance, this is, and we were playing with those kind of concepts that you're talking about, where it's like, actually,
Yeah.
if we change keys, right, if we change the key here, it will lift your soul. And I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was
That's
like,
amazing. Mind blown.
the control. I was like, oh my gosh, I can make people
Yeah.
like feel this thing inside. And so
Yeah.
it's very,
Yes.
very cool. I hope that is a good read. I actually, I
Looking
haven't
at
started.
your
I'm looking
bookshelf
at what I
there.
have, some books. I actually just picked this one up. I don't know if you've ever read it, The Mindful Path to
Oh,
Self-Compassion.
I haven't, but I love the title.
I thought it was really, I read some reviews of it and I was like, anyway, yeah, that I haven't started it yet.
It's like, how can we have compassion for others until we have compassion for ourselves,
For
right? So like,
ourselves. Yep.
it always kind of like, even though it's like, it's not selfish to meditate or to like go inward, like we can't, until we love ourselves, until we're compassionate with ourselves, we can't give it. It's like give, receive again, right? If I can't receive love and compassion, I can't
No,
give it.
everything you're saying is, I'm like, exactly. And I always do. I'm gonna bring it back to acting.
Yes.
I find that what you're talking about, like giving, like, and like letting yourself be quiet, and hopefully you can, distractions won't be overwhelming. But
Yeah.
I know, like in audition rooms and stuff, and I've heard casting directors mention this too, but it's like, actually, I'll tell you, I'll just tell you a story. I was in Chicago. I was auditioning for a movie there, and I walked into the audition room and I was like, what is happening? There's nobody's talking. Everybody is sitting calmly. And like, I was like, what is this? Like, I'm used to audition rooms where it's like, hi,
Yes.
and I'm like,
Yes.
and I loved it so much because I was like, I'm able to sit and really hone in and focus on what I'm here to do. And it was something that I've tried to bring here into the Twin Cities too. When I go into audition rooms, if I see someone I know, I'm like, but I
That's how
try
I
to
am.
I try to bring it down, because I'm like, I really want to focus on why I'm here.
Because that energy literally affects like we take in people's energy. So if you're
Mhm.
and you can feel it, right? You could, that's like with my daughter who's blind. It's like she could go into a room and probably without even seeing, she could feel like, okay, is this like more chaotic in here? Is this calm, right? Like because we're
Mhm.
like picking up all that energy and then we're bringing that into our acting audition or into our voiceover. So that's why it's like, yeah, you want to be able to find a way to get yourself into that. They call it the neutral place, the place of peace,
Oh,
the
interesting.
meditative neutral
Yeah.
place, so that you're not taking in too much positivity from some energy, too much negativity. You're just like coming from a very neutral place, and then you're seeing, okay, this is what I'm being asked to do in my audition or in my job, and then you're able to come at it like with purity, I guess, I'd say.
I love that. I haven't heard it explained in that way before, that sort of a neutral, like, I
Yeah,
love that for acting so much. Like,
yeah,
that's, because you and I, before we recorded too, like we were chatting a little bit, like I get cast all the time and I love it. Really dark. I
yeah.
mean, often
Scorpio.
really, yeah, Scorpio, like
Yeah.
really dark, fairly often gritty. Even in the comedy, like a lot of times what happens for me is it's funny, but it's also like tragically sad, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that
Right.
happened to you. Um,
Right. Right.
and bringing that energy into the audition of like, no,
Yeah.
that doesn't
Right.
always work. I
And
love what
even
you're
if
saying.
it's, yeah, and even if it's not like you're in there, um, like literally, you're like energetically kind of still like it's in your vibe. I guess I'd say, like we pick. That's why I always say like, like I don't want your bad vibe. Like I gotta, like we gotta protect our vibration, right? Like, and so yeah, especially with acting, it's or like auditions, like you got to
Mhm.
protect your vibe. So that makes so much sense because it's,
Well,
yeah,
and are you the kind of performer? I know this for myself. I can get I call it overstimulated. Like I get overstimulated
yeah.
and I get very, very squirrely. Like it's like I drank seven cups of coffee. It's like, and I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. I'm not sure if
Right,
you're that
sure.
person.
You know what? Like I don't drink coffee anymore. Maybe that's why. Maybe I
I don't
would be
either.
more of that
I
person.
don't.
But I think I found kind of a calm place. And again, so much of the work I've done more in the recent is like I'm at home. Maybe I'm doing the voiceover in the booth, and so it's been a while since I've been like on set Um, and I think it probably would depend on people around me now. The people that I've worked with, you included, like there's people that like I just like gravitate towards working with. And so like those people, like they have kind of a calming
Yes.
essence. And
Yes.
so I think that's probably why I gravitate towards that because yeah, it wouldn't work. I think it'd be too much for me to feel chaotic, or like
Yeah.
it's like I
Hmm.
need like the calming presence, like the safety, the security, like you're safe here.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So I'm going to jump into these lightning round questions. These are super fast. Just say
Okay.
what you think when I ask. Do you prefer dark chocolate or milk? Oop, I don't know if I can hear you. Are you still there?
Oh, yeah.
No, yep, you are. What was the answer?
Okay. Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. What is the
Okay.
most boring sport?
Oh gosh, I never could really get into sports, but I guess golf.
Good answer. Your weapon of choice if you were stuck in the zombie apocalypse.
A sword, some sort of, sword, big thing.
I love it. What fictional character do your friends say that you are most like?
Alice in Wonderland?
I love it. And what smells better to you? Fresh cut grass or freshly baked bread?
Ooh, gosh, that's a tough one. I think I might say fresh cut grass, but I mean, I don't know why.
Thanks so much, Alyssa, for taking the time today just to share some of your insights, the things that you've learned. I really appreciate it. For anyone that is interested to know a little bit more about Alyssa, you can actually go to her voiceover website, which is alyssavoiceover.com. And there you can see all the things that she's doing with her voice and a lot of that kind of work. In addition to that, if you're interested, you can also go to, I'm just going to double check to make sure I say the right one. Earthsroot.org is the site that you can go to and learn more about what she's doing with youth and yoga and things like that. And that is earthsroot.org. I'm going to put all these links in the show notes too, so they're easy to find. All right, everybody, let's keep being kind to each other. Thank you.